unfortunate.
The Ratchet Clank franchise has long been one of PlayStation's most beloved and iconic series. As one of the company's premier mascots during the PlayStation 2 era, the duo has carried on with multiple new games that, while liked by fans, didn't draw in the same appeal that some of Sony's bigger hit franchises did. But with the newest entry, Rift Apart, it feels like things are at a turning point for the series. While it's retained the fun and charm that the series is known for, it's grown up as well, delivering a truly memorable and heartfelt experience that makes this the best Ratchet & Clank game yet.
Rivet! How the heck are you? Look who it is!
Taking place after 2013's Into the Nexus, Rift Apart functions as a sequel, but also as a fresh jumping-on point for those who may be new to the franchise or have been away for some time. Things kick off at a parade celebrating Ratchet & Clank's heroics throughout the years when series antagonist Dr. Nefarious attacks. Stealing a device called the Dimensionator, he drags the titular duo with him to a dimension where he's the Emperor. Now split up and with the Dimensionator broken, both Ratchet and Clank have to work with new allies to stop Nefarious and find a way back home.
Who are you?
Someone with a lot of questions.
Rift Apart's story is far more emotional and sincere than I expected it to be, akin to something you would get from a Pixar movie. The humor and lightheartedness that the series is known for is still here, but it's also balanced out by a story that's relatable and sure to resonate with those who play in some way, shape, or form. As someone who's only played Going Commando on the PS2, and the 2016 game that was based on the movie, I never experienced a Ratchet & Clank story that had real emotion and meaning behind it. So coming into Rift Apart, I was pleasantly surprised by just how mature and grown up the game was compared to previous entries, something that makes this by far my favorite in the series. This maturity is evident in not just the storytelling, but also in the characters. There are lots of new characters in the game, with many of them being alternate dimension versions of ones that fans are well acquainted with. The most important of the new additions to the main cast, though, are Ratchet & Clank's dimensional counterparts, Rivet and Kit. These are two fantastic characters that quickly get you rooting for them and invested in their stories. Their interactions with both Ratchet and Clank bring a new dynamic and perspective to things that has me hoping we'll get to see more of them in the future. It's here in the main cast where the heart of the story lies. Each of them has their own personal and emotional journeys that they go on throughout the game that's easy to connect with. Whether it be Ratchet's hesitancy to find the Lombaxes out of fear of being a disappointment, or Rivet's struggle to trust others because of the life she's been forced to live, everyone has an interesting story that one may see parts of themselves in. Clocking in at about 11 hours, the game's campaign isn't too long but doesn't feel too short either. It's an appropriate length for the game and moves along at a steady pace. Completing the story unlocks Challenge Mode, which is essentially New Game Plus, making the enemies harder and unlocking stronger versions of your weapons for you to purchase and upgrade. Between this and the many collectibles there are to find, there's plenty to do once you finish your first playthrough to keep you going for even more.
You may want to track this down. Stay higher. There's a rift.
As is standard with Ratchet & Clank games, Rift Apart is a blast to play. It's constantly throwing out new ideas that keep things from ever becoming boring or tedious. When I was a kid, I played Going Commando multiple times and had a lot of fun doing so. Playing Rift Apart was so much fun that it brought out my inner child and reminded me of the countless hours I spent when I was younger. The classic gameplay remains intact. Whether it's platforming around environments to complete side quests and find collectibles, or the array of creative and explosive weapons at your disposal as you flip and dash around in combat, everything feels great and is what you would expect from the series. There are some new additions, both big and small. The hover boots allow you to quickly speed around areas, which not only makes exploration faster and more fun, but also gives a way to easily move around the battlefield during fights. There's also the Phantom Dash, which is a quick and stylish evasive move for use in combat and also platforming. The biggest new addition to the gameplay is of course the new dimensional rifts that show off the power of the PS5's SSD, and they appear in a couple different ways. There are small rifts that appear in the world that you can tether to once you're within range. These provide some extra fun and challenge when platforming, but are strategic tools when in combat. While fighting, tethering a rift can be used to instantly get out of a tight spot, or pop up behind a group of enemies to get the drop on them and avoid a frontal attack. While it may just seem like a gimmick, using these rifts never gets old. Then there are pocket dimensions scattered across each planet. These mini-levels each provide a short platforming challenge that rewards you with a piece of armor that you can equip for an extra perk, such as dealing extra melee damage or taking reduced damage from certain enemy types. Going into these pocket dimensions is particularly impressive since you're essentially walking between two different levels and it's all done seamlessly. The potential of the rifts is really shown on 2 planets that have you constantly swapping between 2 alternate dimension versions of the same place. It's truly awesome how the rifts are implemented on these planets, and shows the creative potential that's capable with the PS5 hardware. The rifts also play a part in the game's many set-piece moments, making them even more exciting and bombastic than usual. Overall, the rifts are extremely impressive and take the Ratchet & Clank experience all the way to the next level.
You forgot your order? Well, come right in. Mr. Gunn will sell you weapons, but you gotta be less conspicuous.
Creative and unique weapons are synonymous with Ratchet & Clank, and Rift Apart doesn't disappoint in that department. There's a fun suite of weapons to play with, ranging from the standard blast pistol to the powerful Negaton Collider and the enemy-stopping Topiary Sprinkler that covers enemies in foliage for increased damage. Upgrading each of the weapons unlocks new abilities for them, such as being able to shoot in a rapid spread or throwing out 2 Mr. Fungi allies at a time instead of just 1. Where things get really interesting with the weapons is the way the DualSense enhances them. The adaptive triggers provide secondary functions for your weapons. So for the shotgun-like Executor, holding R2 partially will fire only 1 barrel, whereas holding R2 fully will fire from both barrels. In the case of the Drill Hound, a partial hold locks onto your target, and a full hold sends your drill flying at them. There's also the way in which the trigger will bounce and vibrate as you shoot. This, alongside the controller's haptic feedback, makes it feel as if you actually have the weapon in your hand. It's been said by many already, but the unique features of the DualSense and smart implementation by developers truly enhances the gameplay experience, and Insomniac has done just that with their implementation here. In between all the gunplay and platforming, there are brief sections where you'll play as Clank to solve dimensional puzzles, and a hacking tool named Glitch to get rid of viruses. These sections are a welcome change of pace and serve as fun breaks from the main action that never overstay their welcome.
Because I am an interior decorator, first class. And the Emperor wanted this redecoration to be a surprise for you and your team. But now, you ruined it.
Ever since the PS3 days, it's been a common comparison to say that the Ratchet & Clank games are visually on par with a Disney or Pixar movie, but never has that been more true than with Rift Apart. It's an honest-to-God, stunning game to look at that's on the level of some of the best animated movies out there, thanks to some stellar art direction and a fantastic engine. Character animations are vibrant and bring the characters to life in a way like never before, which helps make it even easier to get attached to them. Every planet is also highly detailed and a marvel to look at. From the packed skies of Nefarious City to the volcanic Blizon, every location in the game is begging to just be absorbed visually, which you can be sure I did thanks to the game's easy-to-use and feature-filled photo mode. The game features a couple different visual modes to play with. There's Fidelity Mode, which offers ray tracing and 4K visuals at 30 frames per second. Performance Mode, which does away with ray tracing and lowers the resolution, but offers 60 frames per second gameplay. And Performance RT Mode, which gives ray tracing and better resolution than Performance Mode while maintaining 60 frames per second. I used Fidelity Mode for my initial playthrough and was blown away by how great the game looked. The ray tracing in particular does a great job of making the world feel more lively and realistic. Since completing the game, I've used the Performance RT mode and it's just as impressive, so I definitely recommend using it over the regular Performance mode if you want 60 frames per second. Importantly, no matter how chaotic things have gotten on screen, I've never encountered any frame rate issues during my time with the game. The only technical issue I had was a situation where the game got stuck while swapping dimensions, forcing me to do a hard shutdown of the console. Thankfully, no data was lost and I was able to quickly get right back to where I was, thanks to fast load times and the game's generous checkpoint system.
Welcome to Zerkie's, your newly intradimensional gastropub and battleplex. I will take your coat and also all your weapons.
Think I'd be used to that by now.
Thanks for coming to Zerkie's, where we slaughter with a smile.
Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is one heck of an accomplishment from Insomniac Games. It's brought back one of PlayStation's most iconic franchises in a fresh and exciting way for fans both old and new, with a game that's the definitive hardware showcase for the PS5. But more than just that, Rift Apart is a game that oozes fun from every corner, while also telling a deeply emotional story filled with lovable characters and humorous moments. If you have a PS5 or are planning to get one, this is the one game that you need to play.